You're listening to Swift News, your daily news briefing in just 10 minutes. This is episode 29, and it's June 1st, 2025. Let's get into today's stories.
And here we are for the deep dive. We'll pull out the key insights, really, from the snapshot of what's happening globally.
Yeah, the idea is to connect the dots for you, cut through some of the noise.
See what really matters across this pretty wide range of events and stories we've got today.
Absolutely. We've got quite a mix. Serious geopolitical stuff, economic shifts, tech breakthroughs, environmental news.
Culture, sports, and some really powerful human stories, too. So let's unpack it.
Okay, where should we start? I guess the very serious news out of Gaza.
Yes, definitely. There's been a really tragic incident reported near an aid distribution center in Rafah.
Awful reports. Dozens killed, many more injured.
And the crucial thing here, as you often find in these situations, is the conflicting information.
Right. The Gaza Health Ministry points the finger at Israeli forces.
But the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, they strongly deny that. They're calling it Hamas misinformation.
So it just creates this real lack of clarity on the ground. And of course, deepens the already huge humanitarian concerns there.
Exactly. It's a terrible situation with no easy answers right now.
Okay, stepping back a bit, looking at global alignments, there's an interesting shift involving Colombia and India.
Yeah, quite a notable diplomatic move. Colombia has reversed its previous stance.
How so?
They're now firmly supporting India's position on terrorism.
And this follows India's Operation Sindoor, that counterterrorism effort.
Precisely. It seems to signal, strengthening ties between them on that specific issue.
Interesting regional dynamic. And speaking of security postures, the U.S. is putting pressure on allies.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the Indo-Pacific, urging them to increase defense spending.
And this is explicitly linked to China.
Directly. It's framed as a response to China's growing military assertiveness. A push for, well, collective security.
Right, shoring up defenses in the region. Okay, let's bring it closer to home for some listeners, Canada. Security focus there, too.
Yes, definitely. The Prime Minister announced new measures aimed at strengthening cybersecurity infrastructure.
Which makes sense, given the recent attacks we've heard about on critical sectors.
Exactly. It shows this isn't just an international issue, it requires national action, too.
And also in Canada, the first ministers are meeting?
They are gathering in Saskatchewan. The focus is on energy policy and trying to break down some of those internal trade barriers.
To boost growth within Canada, improve cooperation between provinces.
That's the goal, yeah.
Okay, let's pivot to the economy. Big news on U.S. trade policy.
Yes, President Trump doubling down, quite literally, on steel and aluminum tariffs.
Doubling, wow, up to 50% now.
50%. The stated aim is, protecting U.S. producers.
Standard justification, but the potential downside.
Well, it's the ripple effect, isn't it? Increased costs for manufacturers who actually use that steel and aluminum.
Which can eventually hit consumers in the wallet.
It often does. So it's that classic trade-off. Protecting one industry might raise costs elsewhere.
Always a balancing act. Okay, what about national finances? India had some figures out.
They did. They actually missed their revised tax collection target for the last fiscal year, FY25.
By how much?
58,075 crore, which sounds significant.
But there's a but, I assume.
There is. Their overall revenue collection still grew by a healthy 7.4%.
So kind of a mixed signal then. Growth is there, just maybe not quite hitting the specific revenue projection.
Exactly. A bit of a mixed bag on the economic health front there.
Got it. Elsewhere in economics energy markets, OPEC plus making moves.
Yes, they're planning to increase crude oil production, starting in July.
By how much?
By 500,000 barrels per day, so reversing some of their earlier cuts.
And the reasoning.
They're framing it as needing to meet rising global demand, suggests they see the economic recovery picking up steam.
Interesting indicator. Meanwhile, in Europe, the ECB, what's their thinking on interest rates?
Cautious, that's the word. They're signaling a very cautious approach to any potential rate hikes.
Still trying to balance inflation control.
With supporting growth, which is still seen as a bit fragile in parts of the Eurozone.
Right. And one positive economic sign, South Africa.
Yes, the rand has actually strengthened.
Why is that?
It followed government announcements about new reforms, things aimed at attracting foreign investment, improving fiscal discipline.
So policy signals directly impacting the currency, shows investor confidence is responding.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move into technology. This is where things often get really intertwined with global politics, isn't it?
Absolutely. And we see that clearly with the U.S. and China right now.
The U.S. is accusing China of violating a trade agreement.
Yes, the Geneva Trade Agreement, specifically over alleged discriminatory restrictions on AI chip exports.
AI chips, a key battleground.
Definitely. And adding to that tension, the U.S. also revoked visas for some Chinese students.
So these aren't isolated incidents. It looks like escalating tech friction.
That's certainly how it appears, yes,
Hmm.
with impacts on industry, research, education.
Okay, shifting from tension to innovation. OpenAI's ChatGPT got a big update.
A major one, yeah. Some really interesting new features.
Like what?
Real-time voice conversations. And much better multilingual translation.
Wow, voice conversations. That makes it feel much more natural, I imagine.
Exactly. It's all about accessibility and user experience, breaking down barriers, making AI feel more intuitive.
Cool. And hardware innovation. Samsung's doing something new.
They are launching their first rollable smartphone, the Galaxy Flex.
Rollable. So the screen actually expands.
Physically expands, yeah, giving you potentially a phone and a sort of mini tablet experience in one device.
Huh. Where's that available?
Pre-orders just opened in South Korea and the U.S.
Interesting. And speaking of hardware, but in a different domain space, India's ISRO.
Yes. Successful test of their reusable launch vehicle, the RLV.
That's huge, right? Reusable rockets are key.
Absolutely key. They dramatically lower the cost of launching satellites. And, longer term could enable things like space tourism.
Exciting stuff. But with all this tech comes risk. Cybersecurity warnings.
Yes, experts are sounding the alarm. A sophisticated phishing campaign.
Targeting who?
Online banking customers, specifically across Europe and Asia.
Okay, this is a really practical point for listeners. What's the advice?
Vigilance, number 1. Be suspicious of unexpected emails or messages asking for login details. And crucially, use two-factor authentication.
Enable it everywhere you can, especially for financial accounts.
Absolutely. It's a simple step, but it makes a huge difference against these kinds of attacks.
Okay, good advice. Let's turn to the environment now. Some concerning news from Southeast Asia.
Yes, a severe heat wave gripping the region.
Record temperatures I saw. Bangkok, Hanoi.
Record highs. It's leading to urgent health warnings, obviously, but also calls for energy conservation because the power grids are under immense strain.
A very immediate, stark reminder of climate change impacts.
Indeed. And related to environmental health, a new study just came out linking microplastics
to declining fish populations. I read about that.
Yes, globally. A landmark study really highlighting the urgent need for action on plastic waste to protect marine ecosystems.
It's worrying how pervasive that problem is. On a more hopeful note, space exploration. NASA's Artemis program.
Good news there. Artemis III, the mission plan to return humans to the moon.
It successfully completed a key lunar landing simulation.
That's right. Which confirms the 2026 target for that crewed moon mission is still on track.
Great progress. And some genuinely positive environmental news from Brazil.
Yes. For the 5th month in a row, reduced deforestation in the Amazon.
That's fantastic news. What are they attributing that to?
Enhanced enforcement on the ground, apparently, and also significantly conservation efforts led by indigenous communities.
Shows that empowering local communities can make a real difference.
It certainly suggests so.
And Germany's also pushing on climate goals.
They are. Launched a big nationwide campaign promoting electric vehicles.
Tied to their goal of phasing out combustion engines.
Exactly, aiming for that phase out by 2030. So this is a clear policy push towards greener transport.
Okay, let's switch gears completely. Sports, entertainment, culture. What's the pulse?
Well, the big one in football is tomorrow. The UEFA Champions League final in Istanbul.
Who's playing again?
Manchester City versus Bayern Munich. Huge clash.
Definitely one to watch. What else has been happening in sports?
Cricket. Australia beat Sri Lanka dramatically in the T20 World Cup. Basketball. The NBA Finals are tied 1-1 between the Nuggets and the Heat.
Close series so far.
Very. And India's women's hockey team won bronze at the Asian Champions Trophy, beat Japan in a penalty shootout.
Nail biter and a world record broken.
Yes. Athletics. Kenyan runner Faith Kipyegon absolutely smashed the women's 1,500-meter record in Rome. Incredible performance.
Wow. Okay, shifting to the Arts Cannes Film Festival wrapped up.
It did. The top prize, the Palme d'Or, went to a film called Shifting Sands.
What's it about?
Climate migration. Critics are calling it timely and unforgettable.
Seems like art reflecting major global concerns again.
Very much so. And in music, K-pop continues its global dominance.
How so?
Blackpink drop a surprise single, Eclipse, straight to the top of the charts globally. And BTS's Jungkook is selling out his solo world tour in Europe.
Incredible reach. But also some sad news from the film world.
Yes, the passing of Oscar-winning director Sofia Ramirez, remembered for her really significant contributions to cinema.
A real loss. What about fashion? Any trends emerging?
Paris Fashion Week just finished. Big focus on sustainability, which we're seeing everywhere.
Right.
But also, interestingly, AI-generated fashion collections were showcased.
AI designing clothes. That signals maybe a new era in design.
Could be technology becoming a creative partner.
And speaking of tech blending with entertainment Netflix.
They've announced a new interactive sci-fi series called Future Tense.
Interactive.
Viewers can actually influence the story's outcomes, blending tech and storytelling for a more immersive feel.
Interesting experiment. Okay, finally, let's touch on some of those human stories.
Yeah.
Acts of resilience, community.
Yes, really important to highlight these. Like the teenager in Mumbai hailed as a hero.
What did they do?
Rescued 3 children from a flooded underpass during heavy rains. Just incredible bravery.
Amazing. And community support in Canada.
In Manitoba, yeah. Volunteers mobilizing massively to help thousands displaced by wildfires, providing shelter, food, medical aid.
Powerful example of people coming together.
Definitely. And in Kenya, an inspiring teacher, Esther Wanjiru, won a UNESCO award.
Go what?
Her solar-powered classroom project. It's massively improving education access in rural areas without reliable electricity.
Innovation making a real difference.
Absolutely. And just simple community bonding, too.
Yeah.
London had its big lunch event.
Bring neighbors together.
Yeah, food, music, charity, just fostering those local connections.
Nice. And a moment of remembrance in South Korea.
Commemorating the 40th anniversary of the Gwangju uprising, survivors and families calling for justice, remembrance, highlighting the importance of history and resilience.
So quite a range we've covered today.
A really broad snapshot, isn't it? Global politics, economics, tech leaps, environmental pressures, cultural moments, and these really vital human stories.
And diving into it like this, you really start to see the connections, don't you? How these seemingly separate things, trade, climate, tech, actually weave together.
Exactly. It helps you build a more complete picture of the world around you, seeing the policies, the innovations, the pressures, and the human element all interacting.
Makes you think, doesn't it? About the sheer speed of change, maybe.
Yeah, the speed and also that constant tension between the huge global challenges.
And the individual acts of courage or ingenuity we see.
And maybe how technology and human resilience might, shape our path forward through those challenges.
Definitely something to ponder. Hopefully this deep dive gives you a clearer view of the world as it stands today, June 1st, 2025.